Yes. It's under there. The stand? Yes, the mic stand is in that bag. Good evening once again, ladies and gentlemen. Wekiva High School welcomes you to Mustang Arena for Game 2 of the 2019 Men's Basketball Preseason Classic. Please welcome our guests from Lyman High School. They are the Greyhounds. And they'll be taking on your Wekiva High School Mustangs. Before we begin our game this evening, we ask that you please stand as we honor America with the playing of our national anthem. And now let's meet the lineups for both teams. We'll begin with our guests from Lyman. And we'll start at shooting guard with 6'4" sophomore, number 0, Uchenna Kelman-Nichols. At small forward, 6'1" senior, number 5, Keon Davis. At guard, sophomore, 5'9", number 10, Gage Kilman. At point guard, 5'11" junior, number 11, Omarion Brown. And finally, for the Greyhounds, at guard, sophomore, number 24, Caleb Fitzgerald. And the head coach of the Greyhounds, Sean Reddy. And now let's meet the starting lineup for your Wekiva High School Mustangs. At small forward, 6' junior, number 1, Donovan Stokes. At point guard, 5'10" sophomore, number 3, Jedrick Hammond. At shooting guard, 5'10" junior, number 4, Quandre Roberson. At small forward, 5'10" junior, number 11, Tristan Bryan. And finally for the Mustangs at power forward, 6'2" junior, number 12, Nikhil Edoardo. And the head coach of the Mustangs, Mr. Justino Lubin. The officials for tonight's game are from the Central Florida Officials Association here in Orlando. We thank them for their dedicated service to our high school athletic programs and join them along with our participating schools, reminding everyone to make great sportsmanship a part of this and every athletic competition. A reminder once again, tonight's game is being live streamed on the NFHS network as well as YouTube Live. If you have friends and family who are not available to join us in person tonight, please send them to our YouTube channel, Wekiva Sports, or if they are a subscriber of the NFHS network, we simulcast it there as well.
You don't have a roster, do you?
And Neil, it's good to be with you once again. Welcome to the broadcast for another season of Wekiva basketball.
Absolutely, Mark. You can feel the anticipation, eagerness to get started, which just did with the tip-off. And again, Mark, this is our first game of the season, preseason or regular season.
3-point basket scored for the Mustangs to open things up. Who was that? Hugh Roberson puts the Mustangs on the board. Some transfers, some graduations, some JV bump-ups. This is a very different program as Keon Davis puts the Greyhounds on the board.
Absolutely, Mark. Of course, as you mentioned, I work for the Apopka Chief. Our primary focus this week and next week is the start of the 2 basketball season, boys and girls, which means season previews.
Hand check is called against Amarian Brown, his first and the team's first.
He came out, 11 came out, 0 in.
And I just finished up the boys preview this afternoon. And as you mentioned, Mark, about 3/4 of the story, the centerpiece of my story was that this is basically a brand new team.
Foul is called against number 24, Caleb Fitzgerald, prior to the shot. It's his first, and it's the team's second.
So not one starter returned from last season.
Putback is scored by number 11, Jared Bryan.
Not one starter returning, and only 3 players returned in total from last season.
You also notice there were no seniors in those starting lineups.
No, only one senior on the team. 7 juniors, actually, but only 1 senior.
Roberson misses the bunny shot there. It'll stay with Wekiva. Checking into the game for Lyman, number 20, Isaac Merrill. Janrick Hammond drains the 3 on the inbound from Donovan Stokes.
So 3 3-pointers here in the first minute and a half. And Wekiva's looking good, at least as far as their field goal percentage. I believe they're over 70%, 4 or 5 now. And of course, Hammond, who just got that tray, he wears number 3. If you follow Wekiva basketball, at least to the extent I do, which includes the JV and freshman team, he's a familiar face.
Block is called against Nikhil Edoardo, his first and the team's first.
And the reason I bring that up is he's a player who Wekiva is going to have to count on, but he's been trained. He's slowly, gradually, and steadily developed his game, and you saw it coming through there on the last basket there. Tristan Bryan is one of the players who returned from last season. He just missed that field goal. Again, he's much like Hammond in the fact that he's been on the freshman and the JV team. He has steadily improved his game, and he's one of those 3 players who are ready, at least as far as the experience level, and getting the amount of time on the court to step in now for a team that has no returning starters.
Good deflection there by Jenna Kelman. Mustangs looking good to open this game. We weren't really sure what to expect, knowing how different things were from the last time we saw these young men. Tristan Bryan is fouled on the attempt to go to the line. Foul is called against number 0, Uchenna Kelman. That's his first personal foul, and the team's third.
Of course, the 2 other players besides Bryan who have returned are Donovan Stokes and Isaiah Laster.
And a violation here is going to give the ball to the Greyhounds. Fast break opportunity, nobody there, but the pass is overthrown, and they're not able to keep it under control and go off of Stokes out of bounds.
Yeah, I guess a bit of irony here. A pair of zeros going at it on that last play there. So, of course, if you're not familiar with Central Florida High School's, Lyman's actually over in Longwood. They're over on Ronald Reagan Boulevard between 436 and 434. They're a team that it really isn't a regular in this tournament like, say, Apopka is in this event, but they have been to about half of the events.
Foul is called against number 0, Tristan Bryan. That's his first, the team's second, and it will send Uchenna Kelman to the line.
Nicholas did a nice job there, lowered the shoulder and drew the contact, saw that opportunity was there, didn't hesitate. And again, that's something that Wekiva players are going to have to learn when those offensive players are trying to draw the contact, not to be over-aggressive.
0 for 2 at the line.
So Wekiva catching a break there here in the early going. With they missed 2 and Lyman came back and returned the favor. Same result. Lyman going full court man-to-man.
Three-point basket for Jamaric Hammond. And we'll pause for a timeout.
Who had the assist?
So nice job there of working the ball inside-outside to get that open shot.
30-second timeout is requested by the Greyhounds. So, Neil, this is about as good as the Mustangs could have hoped for a start to the preseason classic. 11-2, that's quite a run to get things underway here.
Yeah, 11-2, can't really beat that. So 16-2 start, Mark.
No, it was 11.
No, it was 13. He has 16.
I know that,
Drive on the
but it was
side.
11 before that.
It was 13, Mark, the AFC's.
Okay. I'll figure out which points I'm missing later.
Interception there, great anticipation by Hammond. And again, you're seeing pretty much what you expect from a team, a completely new team, a bag of good and bag of bad here. So far, been far more good than bad. Wekiva certainly is getting its share of shots here.
Isaac Merrill.
Wekiva getting 10 shot opportunities, make that 11 to only 4.
Nikhil Edoardo scores 2 for the Mustangs.
So again, Wekiva doing a very good job of moving the ball inside, outside, and then back inside about half the time. The other time open for the tray. And Coach Lyman talked about that extensively. He explained the difference that with the new team, you have to rely more on defense, and your defense is going to be far more defined as far as an identity and a characteristic than the offense. And pretty much right now, they're going to stick to the simple and the basics on offense.
Tristan Bryan gets the rebound here.
You know, Mark, and I do get the feeling that obviously we've talked at length here about this being a completely new team, and you're not really sure what to expect. And I just mentioned the fact that they're going to be far more defined as far as an identity and character on defense than offense. But this team really, each player looks like they're out there with something to prove. Maybe not in the sense of making a statement or I've been disrespected or not given enough, but in the sense of we can handle the load. Even though this is our first time, we can take on that mantle.
Foul is called against number 3, Barry Brown. That's his first and the team's 4th. And a lot of personnel changes coming in here. Mustangs will swap out pretty much the whole roster. 0, 4, 10, 15, 33.
course, Wekiva relies on a motion offense. Oh, beautiful rebound there.
Second chance basket by Hampton Malachi.
There's 33.
So Hampton pulling down that rebound there. Again, Mark, we've seen some excellent movement of the ball, inside-outside movement, some good field goal shooting, but now they're adding some rebounding prowess too. Good technique, guy's body where it needed to be there.
Foul is called against number 33, Hampton Malachi. That's his first personal foul and the team's third.
So a minute 45 left here in the first quarter as Lyman inbounds the ball.
Tristan Bryan scores a 3 for the Mustangs.
So again, hot shooting continues, Mark, but of course the ball movement is setting up those open shots. This certainly looks like a much better shooting team than what we've seen the last couple of years.
Push is called against number 20, Isaac Merrill. His first personal foul, the team's fifth. Checking into the game for the Mustangs, Kerry Davis.
So now Lyman's been in man-to-man defense for the entire first quarter. Haven't talked about, but Wekiva goes man-to-man on defense. That's a staple of Lubin's philosophical approach.
And we'll get a deflection here, so that will not count as a backcourt ball. To the corner. Long two, and it's good. That's number 35, Kerry Davis on the pass from Donovan Stokes.
So Wekiva's generated over 20 field goals here in this first period. But to their credit, they haven't just generated a lot. They've really made those field goals count, shooting over 75% from the field. I believe they've had at least 5 three-pointers.
Foul is called against number 1, Donovan Stokes, his first, the team's fourth.
And now we're going to get a turnover here. Nope, no turnover, excuse me.
Now that was just a foul. King's three is well short. Rebound goes to Stokes. 20 seconds to go here in the first quarter.
And to wrap up that field goal differential, Wekiva has a 4-1 advantage.
Full timeout is requested by the Mustangs.
So again, thank you for joining us. To be honest, we're in our preseason too, getting ourselves into shape too.
Yeah, and it's been a great experience here so far. In the opening 8 minutes, Mustangs coming out strong, good looks all around. We're going to do this as often as we can throughout the season, get as many home games live as we can. Interesting decision there by the Mustangs. And that takes us to the end of the first period. The Mustangs out to a great start. 25-4 is the score at the end of 8 minutes. All right, Neil. Well, I think we've got a good one going here. We're going to pause for a quick break, and we'll be back with the second quarter right after this. All right, welcome back to Mustang Arena.
Yeah, I need that back. What happened? What was it called? What was that?
I don't know. He just said, yeah, he just had it in his head. He didn't say anything.
Well, if he made this signal, then that's an offensive foul. What was the call down here? Was that a foul on the down here? And who was that on? Q. Okay.
Okay, so a bit of confusion here at the scores table. Again, we're preseason form 2, getting ourselves back into shape behind the mics.
Sometimes when the officials call the fouls very, very quickly like that, by the time you look up, you already missed it.
So Wekiva again continue that excellent ball movement. And another tray.
3-point basket from Isaiah Laster on the pass from Roberson.
And Wekiva, as well as Lyman, both teams going full court man-to-man throughout the game.
Foul called there against number 24, Caleb Fitzgerald, his third. The team's 8th. Checking into the game for Lyman, number 0, Uchenna Calvin Nichols.
So, Mark, looking at the stats here, they're exactly what you would expect with a 20-plus point lead. Wekiva is not just shooting the ball well, but they're getting a lot of shots. 10 of 17 overall, very balanced as well. 5 of 9 from two-point range, 5 of 8 from behind the arc, 11 rebounds. Only been to the line twice, but again, you don't need to go to the free throw line when you're shooting better than, well, you're shooting in the mid-60s and 4 turnovers. Lyman, on the other hand, combined 2 of 10 from the field, 6 rebounds, 0 of 2 from free throw range, and 5 turnovers. And
Kelman can't get the 3 to go. The rebound is going to go to the Mustangs. That's Hammond that came up with it.
so, you know, Mark, I realize that Lyman is not exactly known as a state powerhouse. Try to put it nicely, politically correct, but nonetheless, you really do get a good feeling as far as what the season's going to be about and what it's going to be remembered for with such a great start.
Held ball, possession Mustangs. Checking into the game for Wekiva, number 15, Prince Daniel.
And of course, as I mentioned at the beginning, Mark, this is a team with absolutely nobody from last season as far as seeing significant time on a consistent basis. And with that situation, they're moving the ball very, very well.
Foul is called against number 20, Isaac Merrill. That's his second personal foul, the team's 9th, and it will send Prince Daniel to shoot 1-1.
So I would like to point out, though, Mark, That timeout that you mentioned seemed rather curious. Right before the end of the first half, about 17 seconds left. Again, as I mentioned, Coach Lyman really called that out more because he did not like the mindset, just the body language of Wekiva despite the big lead. And the word that he really used a lot, I think I heard him 3 different times, was attack. So, yes, they're moving the ball well as far as creating open field goal attempts, looks at the basket. But Coach Lyman wants to see more drives, more physical play, get the ball inside that lane and under the basket.
Zach Mattingly is fouled on the attempt. He'll go to the line and shoot 2. The foul is called against Mustangs. Jarek Hammond, that's his first personal foul. And it's the team's 6th. So that means we'll be shooting 1-on-1 bonus both ways, and actually double bonus on the white side for the rest of the half.
Yeah, 9 fouls on Lyman. Nice stroke there from Mattingly. Oh, very nice rebound there from Stokes. Of course, mentioned he's one of the 3 players who are returning from last season. Got his body right in that lane in between 2 Lyman players, got the arc, went up at the right arc and grabbed the ball at the right point in his arc. So again, Wekiva's also been very patient. They've done a nice job of choosing the right spots to launch their field goal attempts. So again, here's another good sign for Wekiva. I realize again it's preseason, but you have to start somewhere. They understand the situation, not forcing the issue with a 20-plus point lead. Take your time and
here Stokes is going to get called for 3 seconds in the key. That'll turn the ball over to the Greyhounds. Inbound to Kilman. Full court press coming on, courtesy of Hammond. He won't press too hard though. Mustangs up by 25, and we still have 5 minutes to halftime. Good pass, too hot though from under the basket. Rebound here goes to Stokes.
We've seen a lot of those shots from Lyman there because of the Wekiva defense. Got in field goal range there, was under the basket, but really didn't have the right angle in terms of the way his body was leaning.
Adrian Otero comes into the game for the Greyhounds.
Shot the ball way too hard, and it was an easy rebound there for Wekiva. There were three potential rebounders within 2 feet of the basket.
Roberson takes kind of a wild 3. It actually was almost in there, and we're going to get a foul, I believe, against the Mustangs. Foul is called against Mustangs, number 0, Tristan Bryan. That's his second personal foul, the team's 7th.
So as we approach 4.5 minutes here in the second quarter, Mark, I'd also like to point out another positive sign is the fact that Wekiva's gotten off to such a good start in itself. If you remember last season, Wekiva, that was a bugaboo of Wekiva.
And that was a loose ball foul, and so it will put the Greyhounds into bonus. At the line, shooting 1-and-1, number 12, Adrian Otero. First is good.
It looked like the Mustangs lost count of how many free throws they started to run upfield, up the court.
And a miss there. Rebound goes to the Greyhounds, though.
Only the 3rd offensive rebound for Lyman.
Greyhound basket scored by number 12, Adrian Otero. So Otero cashes in for 3 points on that possession in all.
As you say, one of the few plays tonight where Lyman's really looked well and executed smoothly.
Tristan Bryan right up the key for 2.
Nice stop and go move.
Trying to do something in transition, but the pass is overthrown and not able to convert the layup. Rebound goes to Daniel. Will get called here for a block. Block is called against number 2, Corinthian King. That's his second personal foul, the team's 10th, and it puts the Mustangs into double bonus. At the line shooting 2, Jamaric Hammond. Amarian Brown in for Lyman.
So we've seen a lot of players come in and out, too, throughout this first half, Mark.
Checking into the game for the Mustangs, Jalen Hicks.
So, again, going back to not exactly sure what to expect, at least for the first few games of the season with a completely new team. Again,
Nice look there. Jamaric Hammond steals 2 for the Mustangs. Excuse me, that's Hicks for 2. Checking into the game for the Mustangs, number 33, Hampton Malachi.
So Wekiva, with 3:42 left here when they inbound this ball, they're going to have a chance to get the lead all the way up to 30 points. So
Too much time on the inbound, Greyhounds ball.
And that is a inexperienced mistake, not counting in your head. That's the more you play at the varsity level, the more you develop that internal clock.
Steal by Tristan Bryan. Trey for Hicks, and it's in. Jalen Hicks for 3 on the pass from Tristan Bryan.
So never mind 30, we're at 31-point lead now.
Out of bounds. Mustangs ball. And as a friendly reminder of the timing rules, no matter what the scoring differential gets to, we have to use regular timing rules until halftime. If it's a 35-point differential at any point during the second half, then we would move to a running clock. Bryan, jumper, no. Rebound goes to Keelman. Greyhounds go to work.
Wekiva remaining in the man-to-man zone, Mark. Or excuse me, man-to-man.
Lieutenant Colin Nichols is blocked on the attempt. He'll go to line and shoot 2. The foul is called against Mustangs. Number 15, Prince Daniel. That's his first personal foul and the team's 8th.
So, Mark, we have 18 combined fouls here. Actually, I believe it's more than 18. We only show 18.
I know, actually, that's a true 18 right now.
Okay. But still, my point is 18 with 2:53 left in a half. That's probably been the one negative for Wekiva. And just in general, not really the best played, I guess you could say, from either team. And when you look at the free fouls situation.
Yeah, we're going to expect when Wekiva plays Lake Brantley tomorrow night, you're going to see a lot more fast-paced action.
Well,
checking into the game for the Mustangs, Nikhil Edoardo and Donovan Stokes.
I think probably a better way to put that is we're going to see a much better execution at a fast pace. This game has been a fairly quick game as far as the pace. Just Wekiva's executed at a far higher level. Obviously, when you have a 30-plus point lead.
Kelman's jumper won't go. The rebound, this time to Jalen Hicks.
You know, usually in the prevailing...
Full court pressure, and they'll get a steal here. Amarian Brown steals 2 for the Greyhounds.
So I was going to say, when you get a 30-plus lead, the prevailing thought is that turnovers, a lot of turnovers and just not being able to handle and hold on to the ball. Both teams actually have 10 turnovers. So what's come down to is Wekiva has established almost a 3-to-1 advantage in field goal attempts taken, and they've made more. Obviously,
Jamara Hammond to Nikhil Edoardo for 2. And a beautiful pass there, threaded it right through to the baseline.
yeah, and that's where I was going. Obviously, if you take more field goal attempts, the odds of making more field goals than the opponent goes up. But Wekiva has really had much better field goal attempts. They've been closer to the basket. They've been in rhythm. They've been in motion. A lot of passing out to the shooter while he's leaning forward towards the net.
Block is called against Mustangs' Nikhil Edoardo. That's his second personal foul. The team's 9th. At the line shooting 2, Barry Brown. Second shot up, and it does bounce in after much consideration.
Got that roll there.
Full court pressure coming on strong to him, and he manages to get out of it. Stokes in transition, can't get it to go, goes after his own rebound though, and they are going to say that it is off of the Mustangs.
So, Mark, we've talked up and down considerable amount of this first half about the player turnover. Again, no player from last season is on this team that saw considerable time. 3 players are returning, but they were not part of the main rotation on a consistent basis. However, we do also have turnover among the coaches. Dwayne Howard has joined the staff this year. Of course, Charles Hardy.
Foul is called against number 33, Hampton Malachi. His second personal foul, and the team's 10th. At the line shooting 2, Uchenna Coleman-Nichols.
So Charles Hardy, he has been with the team for a number of years as well. And of course, he actually served as the student resource officer for the first 5 or 6 years that Wekiva was open.
Yes, I remember that. You and I have been here for all 12 going on 13 years of the program now. This is, of course, season 13, not officially season 13 yet until next week. Hammond loses the ball to a steal. And it's Amarian Brown on the pass to Gage Keelman.
So now seeing full court pressure, man-to-man from Lyman. And now we're starting to also see some of that pressure in full court man-to-man defense pay some dividends here.
Foul is called against Donovan Stokes. On the hold, that's his second personal foul. At the line, shooting 2.
And Mark, I know
number 0, Uchenna Kelman.
We have a 27-point lead here, but a concern is coming up. It does look, from our viewpoint, that Wekiva is now, I wouldn't say suffering, but there is some effects of conditioning coming in.
Yeah, you can see, you can tell the Mustangs came out really strong, and now that stamina is starting to set in.
Yeah, and it's not so much the physical part as far as like the heavy breathing or the body language. It's just the focus they've had. I believe they're now up to 11 turnovers, 8 in this second quarter compared to 3 in the first.
Uchenna Coleman-Nichols is called on the foul. That's his second. At the line, shooting double bonus for the Mustangs, Donovan Stokes.
So again, that also goes back to youth. Of course, it's not just a matter of the physical maturity. You know, a player's 18 or 17 is going to be more physically mature than a player who's younger, but also just making that adjustment and the requirements of that adjustment from the freshman or JV game to the varsity level. Again, as we mentioned, it's a much faster pace at the varsity level, so that ties into the physical maturity and conditioning.
Donovan Stokes gets his own putback.
Right, that was one?
Amarian Brown draws the foul. He'll go to the line and shoot double bonus for the Greyhounds. Mustang foul called against Jalen Hicks. That's his first.
And that was a really poor decision there. I don't think you have to be a basketball guru to understand with 6 seconds left and a 25-plus point lead, you don't commit a foul. And again, it's not going to matter in this game with that 25-plus point lead. But if you're Coach Lyman or one of the coaches, certainly that's something that you want to point out as we move forward. You don't want to make that mistake in a close game.
And that takes us to halftime. The Mustangs will go into the locker rooms with a 45-16 lead here at intermission of Game 2 at the 2019 Mustang Preseason Classic. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break, and we will be back in a few minutes to analyze the first half here at Mustang Arena. Welcome back to Mustang Arena. Mark Barchi, the voice of the Mustangs, here with Neil Fisher from the Apopka Chief, ready to take you through the second half. The Mustangs have the opening possession of the third quarter. So, Neil, the Mustangs hoping for more of the same here in the second half, save for maybe a few cleanup items.
Yeah, Mark, of course, we were talking at halftime here, really going over the analysis, and to be honest, we came up with the same conclusion. Not a lot time-wise. As we mentioned, Wekiva came out strong, shot the ball well, which was set up by excellent ball movement.
Basket by number 11, Tristan Bryan, to open up second half scoring.
And Lyman didn't. So good ball movement by Wekiva. Again, this is a young team, not one player returning from last year who was part of the main rotation consistently. 3 players in total return. And of course, players here like Hammond, they're moving up from the JV. They've spent a couple years on the freshman and JV teams, and now at least putting in their time, ready to take on the varsity level.
Jump shot by Mustangs number 12, Nikhil Edoardo.
And again, saw a lot of that same ball movement, a lot of body movement, getting the ball open from the inside to the outside. And when you go inside, back inside. But real quick here, looking at the first half stats, obviously the most important one is field goal percentage. Lyman only 5 of 12 from the field. Wekiva 9 of 17, so better than 50%, close to 60.
Foul called against number 2, Corinthian King. That'll be his third personal foul. Team's first this half.
And very balanced, at least as far as, Wekiva was 16 of 29, so close to 60%. They were 9 of 17 from 2-point land, 3-point arch. They were 7 of 12, so balanced there, 9 to 7. 21 rebounds compared to 12, 6 of 8 from the free throw line. Lyman actually held an advantage, getting to the line 16 times compared to 8 for Wekiva.
Corinthian King spins for a basket for the Greyhounds.
But Lyman both teams made only 6, and 12 to 8, Lyman having the 12 in turnovers.
Nikhil Edoardo is fouled on the attempt. He'll go to the line and shoot 2 for the Mustangs. The foul is called against Greyhounds number 5, Keon Davis. That's his first personal foul, the team's second.
And so, Mark, of course, you mentioned this towards the end of the first half, the running clock situation. We are now at 31, make that 32 points. And once the differential reaches 35, the running clock is in effect. That means it does not stop, except for a timeout in between quarters. So 33-point differential now.
Just under 6 minutes to play in the third quarter.
Yeah, and again, Wekiva, another good sign for this very young and inexperienced at the varsity level team. Wekiva's come out perhaps not as spectacular and perhaps not as attractive, but nonetheless, the quality of play has been just as strong as they started the first half.
Yeah, that's blocked out of bounds by King. Yeah, we saw a little bit of fatigue from the Mustangs in the second quarter, and the Greyhounds were able to take advantage of that on the full court press. And that's where we saw the scoring differential start to shrink a little bit, because at first it looked like we were going to pass 35.
In the first half.
Yeah, in the first half. An offensive hold is called against number 12, Nikhil Edoardo.
Yeah, about 4 minutes left. They crossed that 30-point differential margin, and it had been steadily growing. I don't believe it had ever actually gone backwards up until about the 4-minute mark.
Mustang foul is called against number 1, Donovan Stokes. That's his third personal foul. And the team's second this half. Checking into the game for the Mustangs, number 15, Prince Daniel.
So going back to that start of the first half, Wekiva came out and buried 4 of their first field goal attempts, and pretty much they've maintained that pace at percentage-wise.
Isaac Merrill is fouled on the attempt. He'll go to the line and shoot 2 for the Greyhounds.
Who was it on?
Donovan Stokes.
Foul is called against Donovan Stokes. That'll be his 4th personal foul.
Hold on, Donovan only has. Donovan only has 3. Donovan has 3.
I have 4.
I have 4 down for him.
So now Wekiva is trying to beat this full court press, man-to-man. Lyman's been in it the entire game. Actually, both teams have gone full court, man-to-man, the entire team.
Prince Daniel on the way up for the Mustangs.
So now the lead is 34. And again, Mark, we're going to talk about this a lot through the first third, maybe even the first half of the season, the youth and inexperience at the varsity level of Wekiva.
Corinthian King for 3 on the pass from Uchenna Kelman.
And this has really been a pleasant surprise. Their quality of play, especially on the offensive end, as I mentioned in the first half. Of course, this week I'm doing my preview stories for both teams, the boys and girls. Coach Lyman talked about how, because this is a young team, the defense is going to have to carry it a little bit more so than usual.
Yeah, and actually it was interesting when they came back. Oh, hold on a second here. That is
Isaiah Laster for 3, and we'll pause for a timeout.
It was number 11. Yeah. Number 11.
So again, real quick, Mark, my point here is that as good as the defense has been, and it's done what has been expected as far as the quality of play, the offense has been equally impressive and as equally damaging to Lyman's attempt to win.
we thought it was signaled as 1, but we all believed that it was actually number 11. So we're thinking maybe we just missed the hand turn. So it was 11 down here was the foul. White foul.
The one I had?
Yeah.
White 11. Yeah.
Okay, very good. We just misread it. Very good.
Yeah, it was that vacuum.
So, and of course, the stats back up the defense not only doing its job, but the offense really playing better than expected here in this first game of the 2019 season. Obviously, when you hold a team to 5 of 18 from the field in the first half, you're doing a good job on defense. The defense can carry the team to a victory, but Wekiva was 16 of 29 themselves from the field. And when you're shooting that well, Mark, of course, that means you're creating open looks for the shooters. And in order to get those open looks, you got to move the ball well. You got to move it inside, outside.
Good pass. Finn. Jumper won't go for Davis. Offensive board. Can't get the putback for Merrill either. And another offensive rebound goes to Davis. So Greyhounds will get 3 chances here.
And can we go over 35? Yes.
Prince Daniel picks up 2. And it'll be a full timeout requested by the Mustangs. All right, so welcome back to Mustang Arena. It is official now. We are in a running clock situation with a 36-point lead for the Mustangs. 3-point basket for Isaac Merrill. And, of course, that does not change anything. Once the clock goes to running, it does not come back. Wide open. Prince Daniel on the pass from Isaiah Laster.
That certainly looked like what you would see out in one of those playground atmosphere, almost in one of those movies that takes place in the inner city. Nonetheless, Wekiva remains moving the ball very well. You saw that there, found the open man, and it's not just the man who winds up getting the ball. All 5 players, and any of the 5 players, anytime they've been on the court, are moving the ball very well. So again, Mark, we've talked about how ball movement and really the offense being looked at more closely than usual is going to be a main story during the first half of the season.
Uchenna Kelman steals 2 for the Greyhounds. Checking into the game for the Mustangs, Tristan Bryan and Hampton Malachi.
And again, Mark, both teams have remained in full court man-to-man throughout the entirety of this game. And even though a 33-point lead, Coach Lyman was not happy with Wekiva giving up that ball. We could hear him sending in instructions to be strong with the ball.
And that'll be off the backboard equipment, so it'll go to the Mustangs. Yeah, when we came back from halftime, we saw the Mustangs do some suicide sprints back and forth across the court, which was clearly, I mean, I'm reading into that here, but I would think that's Coach Lubin's response to the fatigue that Wekiva demonstrated in the second quarter. I think that's going to be an area of focus for them in practice between now and the Metro versus Florida Challenge that they have to open the regular season. And the games start counting on the record, is working on that stamina and making sure that teams cannot run you ragged with the full court press.
The word focus is really an appropriate word as well, too, Mark.
Hold is called against number 2, Corinthian King. That's his 4th personal foul, the team's 3rd this half. Checking into the game for the Greyhounds, number 3, Barry Brown, and number 24, Caleb Fitzgerald.
And again, I say the word focus is important because the conditioning isn't really a problem as far as their physical. The physical aspect, they don't really look like they're out of breath or tired. It looks like more of the fact that they're getting tired mentally. They lose their focus, and they made about half a dozen mistakes during the last 4 minutes or so of the first half that they didn't make before that.
Mustang foul is called against number 10, Isaiah Laster. That's his 1st personal foul. And the team's 4th.
So the problem again, Mark, is not that they lose their focus first and foremost. It's just when you do start to get deeper into a ball game and there is some of that physical conditioning playing a role, that then leads to losing focus. You're not focusing, you're not as mentally concentrating on the mental aspect, what you should or shouldn't be doing, and going through that checklist of what you should and shouldn't be doing.
That takes us to the end of the 3rd quarter. We'll be right back with more from Mustang Arena and the 4th quarter, last 8 minutes of night 1 of the Boys Basketball Preseason Classic. Welcome back to Mustang Arena, ready to start Q4. And the Mustangs have the opening possession of the fourth quarter. Well, Neil, not a lot of complaints for the Mustangs so far. Second chance basket is made for the Mustangs by Hampton Malachi.
Laster, nice anticipation there again. I think you can really see the difference, even though Wekiva is no new players here between these teams. You see the difference between the teams, even though Wekiva is starting an entire new group.
Barry Brown is fouled on the attempt. He'll go to the line and shoot two. The foul is called against Isaiah Laster. That's his second personal foul, and the team's fifth.
Of course, I no sooner applaud Wekiva, and they return the favor there.
Checking into the game for Lyman number 5, Keon Davis. Well, Jalen Hicks loses the ball to a steal, but then quickly redeems himself at the other end of the court.
There's some very intense play going on there. And of course, Lyman mentioned it several times. They remain in a full court man-to-man. Now we're starting to see some bad decisions here. Not necessarily bad decisions themselves, but the frequency has been increasing, I'd say, the last couple of minutes.
Offensive foul is called against Mustangs number 33, Hampton Malachi, his third personal foul, the team's sixth. And that'll turn the ball over to Lyman.
Yeah, and much like a quarterback in football gets an incomplete pass on his record when the ball is dropped by the receiver, that pass foul, we'll get back to that in a minute.
Block is called against Mustangs number 24. Jalen Sermons.
The foul committed by Malachi on the other end really was not his fault. It was the pass made from the front court, which put him in a position where he was forced to foul.
Yeah, that was a good transition play there by Omarion Brown. He tried to go coast to coast, and the Mustangs had to foul him in order to make the play, and it turns out they didn't. He's able to convert both of those free throws. Good defensive work there by Caleb Fitzgerald.
So 4:44 remaining in the ball game. Again, we have a running clock, which basically comes into effect when one team gets a 35-point lead. And Wekiva did have that there towards the end of the third quarter. Once the running clock comes into effect, it does not matter if the lead goes below 35.
Bad pass. Lyman left three in the backcourt, and the Mustangs still managed to turn it over. Offensive foul is called against number 5. Keon Davis is second, the team's fourth.
And I can,
checking into the game for the Mustangs, number 0, Tristan Bryan.
And if I was a betting man, Mark, I put money on the fact that one of the points that Coach Lyman's going to bring up is that Wekiva is not finishing this game very strongly.
Hampton Malachi. Yeah, we're actually starting to see a lot of the same problems we saw in the second quarter, right actually about the same time in the first half. Good block there.
About 4 minutes left.
Bryan gets a good block and a rebound. And yeah, we're seeing a lot of the same problems, same issues with focus and stamina coming into play here as we get 3/4 of the way through the half. But again, Neil, like we mentioned earlier, that's something that can be written off to inexperience, which this is a relatively young team, and it's something that we'll look to improve. I mean, this is a preseason classic. You'd frankly be surprised if a team played with a great deal of precision in this situation. Kerry Davis picks up 2 for the Mustangs.
And also, I've mentioned this point too. This is a very young team. Only 1 senior on the team in total. You have a bunch of juniors, 7 to be exact. Most of them actually are playing varsity for the first time. They're playing freshmen and JV level. But they're also just physically not as mature. A 17, 18-year-old is going to be more physically developed than a 15 or 16-year-old.
Foul's called against number 33, Hampton Malachi.
So approaching the 2-minute mark.
Wait, is that 3 or
Mark?
is that 4 or 5 for him? Oh, yep. Okay, strike that. It's not a foul out. That was my fault. My fault.
And again, running clock has been employed, is in effect, which basically means if one team gets a lead of 35 points or more, the clock does not stop. Only stops for timeouts and just for future use between quarters.
Who just made that? I have no idea.
The putback was by 3. Yeah.
So Brown with that basket, and that was really an effort basket there. He just ripped the ball out of the hands of the Wekiva defenders, 2 defenders down there, ripped it out and put the ball back up. Again, that's a specific play that Coach Lubin can look to. Oh, there's a really bad play. Over and back. You should never be caught on an over and back when you're not facing full court pressure.
Was there a foul that I missed just now?
And again, there's really a textbook definition of losing that focus here towards the end of the ball game. So a 33-point victory, most likely. Obviously, Wekiva's going to win. It's just a question of by how much. Wekiva most likely is going to dribble out the clock here. And we'll be able to put a good start in the books here, Mark.
Yes, indeed, Neil. We'll look to see Wekiva come back on Thursday night, see if they can do this against Brantley. Second chance basket scored by Jalen Sermons. That takes us to the end of the ball game. Mustangs hold on for a win to open up the preseason classic. Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you so much for coming out tonight to support your Mustang and Greyhound athletes. Special thanks to those of you who joined us online as well on the NFHS Network or YouTube Live. We hope that we will see you on Thursday night at 6 o'clock as Lyman takes on Apopka. And then at 7:30, it will be the Mustangs against the Lake Brantley Patriots. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we will leave it at that here. The Mustangs pick up a big win to open up the preseason classic. My thanks to Neil Fisher from the Apopka Chief, joining me tonight to open up his 13th year of calling games together and reporting on them. We'll be back on Thursday night. We hope that you will too. And we will wish you good night from Wekiva High School.